Hey, man.
The pick is in.
What
Okay, the
happened?
Seahawks pick is in.
What
You're
happened?
gonna
What
get
happened?
what we're gonna get here is a live response from two Seahawk fans about the Seahawks. And the truth is, the Seahawks, uh, the Seahawks didn't trade this pick, which is a little
Okay.
stunning to me because they
Yeah.
never pick in the first round. So they must have somebody they like,
They have
right?
a running back they're very happy to pick, I'm sure.
Ready?
But
What are the odds that the Seahawks choose a running back? They're relatively high.
very high.
And just the history of Seahawks first round draft picks has been really, really bad, Greg.
Like
Okay?
one
They've been
of their more.
really, really bad. Ooh, there's a running back. Is DeAndre Swift is on the board, and he's supposed to be J.K. Dobbins from Ohio State. So we've got a lot of running backs on the board.
They should take the
right?
offensive tackle, but we'll see.
So they're going to go to it in just a second. But how are you, Greg?
I'm doing well, man. How are you?
I'm great. You got a lot of books behind you there, buddy.
You like that? We turned a little bit of the kids' play space into a little home office. So
Really?
we got some
Spent
some
some
of
good time.
my books.
You spent some good time. Spent some good time doing
Just
the
so,
IKEA thing.
just so you all know, this is as attentive Jeff is usually to me in our
No,
conversations.
shut up.
It's
My son
pretty
was grabbing
close.
things and he was like, I want to turn the volume up.
It's
I'm
pretty
like,
close.
no.
I'm going to give a shout out right now to the office setup we have right here is at GD Nichols' suggestion. So he came and he helped me move into this new place we're in, and he gave me some ideas, and my wife thought that they were good ideas, so we went with them.
Okay.
So I just wanted to give credit where it was due.
Yeah.
And
look, he's celebrating that right now.
He should.
I don't have a book wall, Bertuzzi. I don't have one.
Jeff doesn't need one because his memory is like a book wall.
Yeah,
you
I
got
have it all digitally stored in the frontal lobes of my
brain. Your book wall exists.
Going dead now. Some of the drugs that I take make me like kind of lose my train of thought, which is pretty funny.
You should get a book wall.
Times I'm like, oh, okay, yeah, I've got to. Okay. Then I'm done.
So did the pick come in? What happened? You said the pick was in.
No, it says the pick is in. Right now, the Seahawks pick is in. Okay? The Seahawks pick is in, but they're not going to anyone. Oh, they're ready to do it. They're ready to announce it.
This is great Instagram Live.
They're doing this little announcement thing from CenturyLink Field from all the workers and about how they dealt with COVID-19. So they're trying to suck all the energy out of it. And I'm very frustrated about it. So if you're not a Seahawks, listen, we're going to be done with the Seahawks pick in just a second, and then we'll get on to more important details. Greg, how long have you been a Seahawks fan?
I've been a Cleveland Browns fan longer.
What?
I started following the NFL. Here
we go.
Hit us with it.
He's gonna do it. Ready?
Yeah.
He's gonna give it to us. Roger Boo Goodell. He's about to handle it. Oh my God, stop it. Turn it down, Micah. Micah's got. Here we go. Who's gonna be? Who?
I don't know who that is.
A linebacker.
Okay. That's the most Seahawks pick ever.
Right? I mean,
some guy I haven't. You know what? Someone who's an actual college football fan that will come on here and comment, "Oh, Jordan Brooks is the best linebacker available at 27."
I have no idea.
Yeah.
Who he is.
Okay.
He's gonna probably be terrible.
That is Pacific Northwest.
Right now, we're like, what?
That is Pacific Northwest sports fan. In a nutshell.
How
the build-up,
disappointing,
and the letdown.
He's a short, undersized linebacker.
Pete Carroll cannot wait.
From Texas Tech, who played in the worst defense in the world. Anyway, okay, whatever. We don't care anymore.
Reagan, to answer your question, I became a Cleveland Browns fan because I started following the NFL in the year that the expansion draft of the Cleveland Browns happened. Yeah. And I was inundated with Cleveland Browns information. And I was like, apparently this is the team I'm supposed to follow. So
all right.
That's the inside scoop.
Okay, so for those of you who don't like sports, we're done with it now. That's all we cared about. But you have to understand that I have been, as a sports fan, been dying on the vine during this pandemic. And everybody says we shouldn't do sports anymore and all that kind of thing because it's not important. And I'm kind of begging to do. I know we can't play it because it's going to put people in jeopardy, the players themselves, and they might get sick, whatever. But man, it is such a lovely distraction from the hard things in life.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I don't have it now.
You're right. You're right. And it's a vacuum for a lot of us, right? Of that thing that we would devote our time and energy to. And we don't, Jeff, we don't fight about quite as much without there being sports on. One of the most, I think, memorable exchanges you and I had was when I sat across from your desk in the Downs Road office, and I said some offhand comment about how I thought Steph Curry is probably like the best 3-point shooter because he has the record for the most 3-point shots. And Jeff lost his actual mind in the office on me when I made that comment. And so sports have not given us as much small talk. So now when we talk, we just like go straight deep into some kind of like theology or something. There's no initial pleasantries. There's no fight.
And my level of anger has subsided significantly since the sports have gone off. And it's horrible. I mean, it really is.
I think someone also made a comment about Steve Nash that just about made you lose your mind.
Yeah. Listen, so, I just, yeah.
Anyways, we can digress from sports.
Hey, Greg,
yes, sir.
You are a father of 2 children. What are the names of your children and how old are they?
Benji is 5 and Emily is 2. And they are both in various stages of falling asleep.
Yes. And your wife's name is?
Sarah.
You've been married for how long?
We got married in 2011 of October. So like 9.
Wow,
8,
that's a
9.
long. You're gonna almost 10 years is coming up, buddy.
Yeah.
Like wow, that's great. You gonna do anything exciting?
Like if the pandemic is gone, probably. I don't know.
How about you stop the pandemic? That's something nice.
With our anniversary?
That's right. To celebrate it. Greg,
yeah.
you have a special needs son.
Or
a son with, I should say, son with
yes.
special needs. Doesn't
yep.
define him.
Yeah.
So how have you found, what has been the hardest thing you've had to deal with that? And flip side, what has been the most surprising, positive thing that you didn't know that you would experience or learn?
Yeah. Yeah, it's a great question. I mean, I think one of the first things I would say to that is that when you become a parent of a child who has special needs, first of all, I don't think anyone writes that into the plan. And so it's always a little bit of a curveball. But you develop this I at least have developed this very interesting piece where I have never once been frustrated by Benji. I've only ever been disappointed when I start playing the comparison game with other kids around his age. So there's this unique, like, just joy and affection in who your child is, and you love them, and I feel like in a lot of ways I have this like Zen kind of knowledge of my son, and the only time I really feel the weight of the challenges is when I see other kids around his age or younger than him being able to do things that I kind of anticipated I would do, as you anticipate having your firstborn son. So that's been a challenge, is just kind of grieving the comparison piece.
Does it make it hard to have like play dates and things, or is it something
for sure. Like now that Emily's come along, it's a bit easier because Emily, our second child, who's 2, she's seemingly typical. And so she engages in a lot of kind of typical ways with other kids and families. And so play dates are easier now that we have the Emily dynamic. She's also like the one extrovert of our family. So she is all in on hanging out with anybody and everybody. And so now play dates are getting a little bit easier, but it's the Emily factor that's been helping that. But yeah, like before we had Emily, play dates just looked different, especially as he got older and the gap developmentally got wider between him and some of his peers. It just, unless the people we were with had a real patience and a real understanding, it would just be kind of, it's easy for people to kind of get a little bit not totally sure how to engage with it. So But yeah, it's been one of the side things that I didn't really anticipate at first was just the fact that once you kind of have a kid who has special needs, you're kind of like in this like head nod club in public where you see other
Mm.
families who have, you know, and it's like when I bought my Dodge Grand Caravan and then I saw them everywhere. It's the same kind of thing when you have a child with special needs is you start seeing the families and the kids everywhere and you start being able to have a bit of a pastoral connection. And not because I know anything more. My wife is far and away the expert when it comes to some of the medical and developmental challenges that my son faces. But even just being a dad and just being his dad kind of has given me a window and a on ramp of sorts
Yeah.
with a lot of different kinds of people that I don't think I would have had before. So that's been a definite positive. Other than the fact that I think most people who know Benji know him to be a really delightful
Yeah.
kid who's
Sweet
very
kid.
affectionate and very calm demeanor, and just a very fun kid to be around once you kind of wrap your mind around him not being totally typical. So
Yeah.
Ben is the joy of having Ben, but there are side benefits for sure.
Yeah. You have also just recently or about to graduate with your Master of Divinity degree after 30 years of
30.
trying.
Yeah, I don't know if I want to talk about this. It's an open wound, is what it is. No, look, I have a distinct memory of walking around some sidewalks with Jonathan Giesbrecht, who you had on here before me, which is okay. Other than him and I have had a bit of a rivalry our whole lives, and so I lost that one. So that's not helpful for me. But that's okay. You win some, you lose some. I beat him in the wrestling
Yeah.
match in grade 12, so I won that one. So it's
Yeah,
fine.
you'd probably still win a wrestling match with him.
I think so.
Um,
He's wiry
so
though.
would my wife, by the way. Anyway, let's
So I remember walking around with Jonathan Giesbrecht, and he was asking me questions about like, hey, what kind of masters should I pursue, MBA or an MDiv or whatever, something like that. And I was currently in my schooling doing an MDiv, and he has recently graduated with his MBA,
yeah.
and I am still in process. And I'm looking forward to being this particular chapter of my educational journey.
So when do you actually expect to receive your degree?
I think that I should be done by the end of this spring is my
That's great.
anticipation. So
That's great.
that'll be good. I keep telling people, you know what? At this point, I feel like I've got the education,
Yeah,
and
it's
now
just
I'm waiting
ticking the
for a piece
boxes
of
at this.
paper.
Seriously, it's just ticking the boxes at this point, right? I mean,
I'm waiting for a paper. Yeah,
yeah, yeah. That's so. That's fantastic.
yeah.
Well,
I'm looking forward to it.
congratulations. I'm really happy to hear that, and it's awesome that you persevered for all that. How long have you been an intern at Northview then?
That's right. I interned in 2009 at
Right.
Northview,
So 11
and then
years of interning.
yeah, then I started various staff roles in 2010
What
till
has
today.
been the most frustrating thing about working at Northview, and the most delightful thing about working at Northview?
Yeah, frustrating would be I'm a planner, and I have had to realize as I go through my ministry that we can make our best laid plans, and yet they're ultimately in the hands of the Lord, who's going to do what He wants when He wants to. And so I think that for people who are planners like me, uh, changes in plans can be difficult. I think I've gotten better at dealing with the changes as the years have gone on, but that's definitely the change in the shifts when I didn't see them coming were hard for me at first. The delightful piece would be, I mean, serving on staffs for the years that I have, it really does become a bit of a kind of like a primary social
Mm.
hub working on staff, right? The people that you're serving alongside of, you become, in a lot of respects, your actual brothers and sisters. You share life with them, you argue with them, you make up with them, you pray together, you share your burdens, you laugh together. uh, I've always appreciated, for a little inside tip for people who might not know this, on our Christmas parties we usually do like a Christmas party where we have a bit of a like program where we kind of poke fun at ourselves, and I just really loved
We kind of poke fun. We
a
poke a
little bit
lot
of
of fun at ourselves. Yes.
yeah, and I just love that that's a part of our culture, that we want to laugh with each other, and so that's something that has always been something that's been important to me, is trying to be a part of a good laugh, help people laugh. Funny story, I wanted to be, my first career goal was to be a comedian. I told
Really?
that to my grade 10 English teacher.
Okay, stop.
She
What's your
said,
best joke?
wait,
What's
she said, don't do that. And I said, okay.
okay?
And I stopped. So
Okay.
that dream died then. She's like, don't do that. Okay.
What's your best joke though?
I don't even know.
I just want to see if you have the comedian chops. Let's
I
see.
don't have the, okay, here's a joke. Here's a bit I'm working on. Leland, you can take this if you want it. I think there needs to be a joke told about how Al Gore is so influential in the internet, and that all the systems that give us ads on the internet are called algorithms. Al Gore rhythms. Huh? There's a
This is
joke there.
this is the kind of insight that is really great.
I'm offended that you were just watching the draft while I said that.
Yeah,
I can
I
tell by
fell
where your
asleep a
eyes
little
are.
bit in the
You
middle
know
of
what?
it.
Eyes here, Jeff. Uh,
Okay.
Algorithm, get it? Like
I do.
Al Gore.
I totally do. I see
Okay.
the similarity. You were made to be a father. So that's good. Now it wasn't just a comedian though. You also wanted to be a sportscaster. Is that right?
I did. So after my English teacher crushed me, I decided I needed to move on to other aspirations. And so the plan originally was to go to college, get a communications degree. I heard about this program you could apply for, and you could audition. And if you made the audition, you could get a free tuition for broadcasting journalism, and particularly on-air broadcasting. And so my goal was get a 4-year communication degree, try to do that thing that basically gets me in the system with the TSNs or the sports nets or whatever the different kind of mother companies are. And then I 1 year at Bible college turned into 2, turned into 3, turned into an internship, turned into 4, turned into a job.
So is this like a latent dream? Is this one that just kind of, at the dark hours of the evening and the quiet, you start thinking, what if?
I lie awake and wonder, what if I could be traveling all the time and following? No, I don't think so. Like I've always loved sports, and I've always been very not athletic. I peaked in grade 6 in terms of my athletic ability. But when I was in grade 6, I was a bit of a powerhouse. So,
well, you were from what I understand, you were an early bloomer. So
sure was.
like you got really tall compared to all your peers. And so you were a bit of a bully.
I was this height in grade 6, which is about 5'11". And so I was dominant in the sports, and then everyone grew and also got faster than me.
Yeah.
So I managed to stay this height, and I slowed down as if that was possible. I got slower over time. And so once I realized that the Lord had not positioned me in his providence to be an athlete, then I thought, well, why not just watch it for a living and talk about it?
Yeah. That's good.
But now I'm not doing that. And it's,
do you like
being
a pastor?
I do. I think I've over time kind of found the kinds of ministries that I think I'm good at. I don't think when I started at Northview, I would have predicted that, 10 years from now, I would have been in the role I'm in now. But I genuinely love pastoral ministry. And I think there are challenges to it for sure, but I think the challenges sometimes get overplayed. I think all jobs are hard, and there's some benefits to our job in that, like, we can study the Bible and put it on our timesheet. And that's like, what a blessing to study the Word of God and read theology and not feel like I have to carve out that time separate from kind of my normal everyday working life. It's a huge joy.
That's
so great. So I really do. I love doing it.
So I want to ask you, you had a loved one
Yeah.
who was, and when I say loved one, friend, who was had a very, very serious brush with COVID-19.
Mm-hmm.
So a lot of us haven't had that relationship with someone really close to you.
Yeah.
So how did that go?
Yeah, my wife was in the Costco line a few days ago, and then she got home like just now from Costco.
Do you know how many people start their stories like that these days?
Really?
I was in the Costco
What
line a
else
few
do
days
you
ago.
do?
Like,
What else? What
that's
other
like
things are you
that's
doing?
like yeah.
I wasn't even in the Costco line. My wife was in the Costco line. Uh, the guy in front of her was like, "Yeah, I don't even think COVID's a real thing. Like, I don't even think it's a disease." He's like, "Have you? You don't know anyone who's had it, do you?" And she kind of laughs and is like, "No, actually, I do." So yeah, yeah. Interestingly enough, we got the news. So my wife took our friend to the hospital because they were quite ill for quite a long time, and had actually had the testing for COVID done about a week and a bit prior to see if they had it because they'd been sick for quite a while, and they hadn't heard any test results back by the time my wife went over to their place, and so she went over. Actually, the night this all happened was the night of our kind of special general meeting where we talked about should
Right.
we build the building for a different price amount, that kind of stuff. And all this was kind of happening while this meeting was going on. You and I were actually sitting on a back couch, and I was just staring at my phone, waiting
Yeah.
to get a text message to see if it was a confirmed case. And so the person did have a confirmed case with it, and because my wife had some significant exposure to this person, she was immediately placed in quarantine. And so she left our place at like 3:30 in the afternoon and was like, "I'm going to take him to the hospital. And I'm going to come back home so you can go to your meeting, and it'll just be like a normal day." So she kind of rushed off, didn't really, make a big deal of it. Like, we don't normally make a big deal when we leave the house. If we expect to be back in an hour and a half, we just wave goodbye and say, "See you later. Good luck." Uh,
And
and
then
then
2 weeks later,
2 weeks, totally 12 days later, she came home.
yeah.
And like just the difficulty of trying to process how is our friend doing, and because they had to be intubated, they had to be they were
Yeah,
in really not,
they went the full hog.
yeah,
But
they were not in a good space for a long time with it. And
yeah.
so my poor wife had to bear that burden of how is this person doing, awaiting her own swab results to see if she had it, because if she did, she'd have to be away longer.
Yeah.
The kids not really knowing where mom was. My daughter in particular was not happy with
No.
mom being away for that long of a time. And then I'm trying to juggle kind of work. And then what was interesting was, as her 12 days were progressing, was when things were getting tighter and tighter and tighter. So it felt like every day,
Yeah, yeah.
fewer and fewer supports were actually available to try to make working and the two kids and everything actually happen. And so
Yeah.
things were kind of tightening up a lot over that time.
Yeah.
So it was a crazy 12 days. It was you and I had a few text conversations, a few phone calls where I was not in a very good place. I was very frustrated with the situation.
Yeah.
Lots of concern for the loved one, and lots of frustration with how can it take many days for a test result, and how are we going to be able to beat this thing if it takes this many days to
Right.
get test results?
Is this the way we do it all the time?
Totally.
Yeah.
But she came back, and our friend rebounded and is at home and recovering
That's
well.
great news. That's
And
great news.
so yeah, it's I think the hardest part, the thing that you hear over and over again, the hardest part of the whole people who are actually going through the COVID scenario is the isolation.
Yeah,
That
yeah.
you have people fighting for their life completely alone,
Right. You
and
can't
you
go and
can't
help
see
them at all.
them.
Nope.
And that's the crazy part of all this, is they're not
Yeah.
just ill, they're ill and they're alone. And
Yeah.
yeah, being alone for that, even just, for my wife, for being alone that many days in a row, is just, it's not what we've been made for as people. Like, we've been
No.
not been made. It's not good for us to be alone, right? It sounds like a Bible verse or something.
Yeah.
So you really do have this kind of craving in you that you realize I need relationships. I need
Yeah.
people. And I think even wider spread than just people affected with COVID in particular, but actually with a diagnosis, that's probably one of the biggest challenges most people have right now is
Yeah.
they're just desperately needing. Even the people who don't like to hug people are like, I could go for a side hug. I would
Yeah,
take
totally.
one.
It's horrible. I'm not a hugger, but like if I saw you right now, buddy,
Side hug.
we'd be now.
It'd be a lot of sides
Yeah.
touching.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
Yeah.
Hey, okay, so there's only a couple minutes left because we wasted time with the Seahawks' useless pick at the beginning of this. So if anybody has any questions for Greg about his life background, anything that you've wondered about him at all, you should ask. I would like you to tell the people what your nickname is.
I think was, but we'll go with it.
I'd like to bring it back. Me and Ezra still call it to you behind your back.
It's true. Yeah, I get called Skippy. Can I tell the backstory for why I get called Skippy?
How did you get called Skippy?
Because in our old staff room, which is now the room that gets used for the communion supplies, which shows you how our staff size has changed. I was sitting there like minding my own business, and I was eating toast with peanut butter, and the brand name was Skippy. And you saw that, and you said, "This shall now be your name." And it has since.
But it's perfect. Come on,
it's henceforth.
Perfect. Little Skippy Harris. You have always and will always be Little Skippy Harris.
That's great. I'll take it.
It is. So if you're on here and you're listening, you see Greg next time, just say, "What's up, Skip?"
That's right.
Because that has been his name at the church. Did you pick out your own shirt for the interview tonight?
Yeah, I did. So Craig is my community group leader, and he is using some of my own eccentricities against me in public, which is it's not a good look for you, Craig, because you're supposed to care for your people in your care group. But I made a comment in a sermon a while ago that I put out the clothes that I'm about to wear for the week ahead of time. And so
that's right. I remember.
So I do that because.
So was this one chosen earlier, or was it this the last minute? Was this a call at the line of scrimmage? I
will say that since the global pandemic has struck, I only choose the clothes for the day ahead because I'm like, who knows if there's going to be a Saturday. So I just need a shirt for Friday now. It's good.
Good. What are your plans for East Abbey? You are the East Abbey campus pastor, for those of you who don't know. So what, now that there's not an actual physical campus in East Abbey, what? You don't do anything? You don't do anything now,
exactly.
Right?
Yeah. Basically, I'm falling back into kind of what I did before a lot, which was just some more discipleship stuff. I mean, that's really my role at East Abbey in general, is discipleship, community, that kind of stuff. It just is with one particular campus. So obviously for the duration of when we aren't able to meet in public, I don't have a lot in particular for an East Abbey focus other than, in the phone calls we're trying to make and that kind of stuff. I try to pick people that I know go to the campus and that kind of stuff, just so I can be in touch with people who I have a relational connection with already. But yeah, I mean, the plan is that we want to be a campus in Northview and we want to be a part of multiplying healthy local churches. And that's something that I'm passionate about, and how East Abbey can be a factor in that I'm excited to see how God's going to use it.
That's good. Hey, do you, when's the first time you and I met? Do you remember?
I don't know the first time we met, but I remember that I knew you from young adults when you're the young adults guy. And I think someone else mentioned it already with the New Zealand haircut. So that was my first impression. Are you talking about the worship leading?
So there used to be a thing at our church called a design team meeting where we get together, and
it took 17 hours.
It was one of those meetings that the worship pastors ran. So it should have taken about 15 minutes to a half hour, but it actually took 2.5 hours. Yeah. And they brought food in, and there would be like a halftime, pee break, and like it just took a lot of time. There were a lot of rabbit trails in that meeting.
Yeah.
Anyway, I'm new at the church, and so they asked me if I'd be interested in being part of this, or they asked me if I'd be part of it. So I sat down. So I'd been to like 3 meetings, and that weekend, some guy named Graham was supposed to be worship leading at the church, and instead of showing up himself, he sent what he called a proxy, and that was you, and you were in high school. You
I
showed up,
was.
and you little guy sitting next to me, and I thought to myself, who is this Graham guy that he just sends students around? Does he have like a bunch? Does he have a bunch of minions that
He
he just
knew.
sends everywhere?
He knew
It's
that
amazing.
that meeting was
And
not
this
worth his
is
time.
Graham Nichols, who is an elder at our church.
That's right.
He's the one who did that. He couldn't show up himself, so he sent part of his entourage.
So in
And
fairness,
and
I
there you
think
were.
I think that the MEI worship team was leading worship, of which I was a part, which Jonathan Giesbrecht, I think, would have also been a part of.
Wow. See?
He's
So
the real
anyway,
musical
listen,
mastermind.
unless there's another question, but I've been trying to say at the end of these interviews that I really appreciate you, and
Thanks, man.
we've been friends for how long?
At
It must
least
be
since
like since I've
2009.
been here. It's about, well, even before that, I think it was something
Yep.
like that.
Yep.
We both share a great distaste for Graham, so that's something.
Yeah, for sure.
Anyway, it's been fantastic that you
Thanks,
were
man.
you're the first millennial I liked.
Ah,
And I
good.
had a really bad attitude about millennials till I met you, and then I was like, oh, okay, I'll give them another chance, and I'm glad I did.
Yeah. Yeah, you're
I'm glad
welcome,
I
other
did.
millennials.
No, you are a kindred spirit.
Yeah,
We like to make the jokes, and it's been a lovely working together with you, Greg. I hope it's for lots and lots of years in the future.
yeah, agreed.
Um, Thank you so much. It's been a fun week interviewing lots of different folks. Great to see you guys. I think next week we're changing our schedule to Tuesdays and Thursdays because I don't know why. I've just been told what I'm doing. Probably because I'm not good enough at this, so they had to pull the plug on
That's not
certain
true.
aspects of it. But
We're working on a different midweek thing on
there it
Wednesday
is.
that we're some of our campus guys and some other people on our staff are gonna try to put
Right.
out
So
something that'll encourage
we
people on
don't want
Wednesdays.
competing events.
We would
So
get defeated by the Jeff Instagram live.
yes, yeah, because
The people love it.
so many people want to connect.
They love
All
it.
right. I think they're just still waiting to see if I can master the Instagram app, which I still am unable to do. But that's okay.
Do a filter thing. Choose a
No, I
filter thing
can't.
for you. Yeah, you
I don't
can.
know how to. If
Try
I
it. Just
push the
touch
button.
the screen. It's
Okay,
fine. Give it
this
a
is how
go.
we're going to end the week.
Do it.
Nothing tomorrow night. This is how we're going to end the week. Is with
Yeah.
me trying to do a filter. If I
Yeah.
shut this off, it's been great having you. It's been great. Okay. So God bless you
Here
all.
we see it.
Here we go. Here's my
Do
filter
something.
exam. Oh! I think I pushed the right button.
See,
So
this
here's
is
one
how
that
you
says
learn.
toilet paper. Oh my goodness.
All right. Well, this is how you learn. This is how you learn, Jeff.
We'll see you later, everybody.